मेरे करण अर्जुन आएंगे।
Okay. Okay, so on Filme Shilmy, it gives me such a great pleasure to welcome an absolute fantastic filmmaker who I think whose name is enough. Really, I don't think he needs any more introduction. Rakesh Roshan, sir, thank you so much for joining us on Filme Shilmy, and heartiest congratulations on 30 iconic years of Karan Arjun and it re-releasing as well.
Thank you. Thank you. My pleasure.
Okay, look, casting Shah Rukh Khan and Salman Khan, I mean, it was such a milestone achievement of sorts because it was almost a rare phenomenon for that to happen. 30 years later, how do you view the iconic legacy of Karan Arjun and its impact on Hindi cinema?
See, when I started the film, Shah Rukh and Salman were just upcoming actors. So
Hmm,
I took them because they suited the role.
yeah,
I never knew that they would be the biggest superstars of India.
right.
And they're still there today, the superstars. So I've been very lucky. God has been very kind to me that I casted them 30 years back. And today, again, they are still there as the biggest superstars of India.
Hmm. And but did you ever anticipate that the film would develop into such a lasting legacy for both the actors, and not just for both the actors, I think even in Hindi cinema history also. It's such a big pop culture reference even today.
No, I just made a film on faith, and, and mostly it was a fairy tale because real life ऐसा कभी ऐसा होता नहीं है.
जी.
So an unbelievable story को believable बना के लोगों में पेश करना, it's a very difficult process.
Hmm.
But there was something in me was telling me, no, I should make this film, and so I made it.
Hmm. Hmm. I'm glad आपने फेथ की बात की because हम ऐसे दौर में हैं जहाँ spiritual stories are often very popular now. In fact, I've noticed a resurgence of stories which are seeped in spiritual elements. And I think there's also a certain attempt to revive the masala genre as well. And I think for me, Karan Arjun is a classic example of reincarnation stories. In today's era, especially because, like I mentioned, the popularity now of such stories, do you think divine stories are more well received, perhaps, and more needed as well, perhaps, than what they were 30 years ago? Do you think that also has increased, that demand for such stories have increased as well?
So there are two ways to make a film. One, what you said is a masala film.
Hmm.
I had never made a masala film. I made a complete film.
Yeah.
A complete film means it has good songs, it has got good locations, it has good performances, it has good sensible comedy, and a very sensible story.
Hmm.
So it's a complete story, a complete film we used to make. We made it,
Hmm.
and I always make. So when I start a film, so I have people in my mind from Jogri Tirlai, from the smallest village of India to LA. My audience should be so vast. So I don't think small, I think big in my mind. And I take 2, 3 years to make a film. I'm not in a hurry. So till I am not satisfied, till I am not convinced, I will not be able to convince anybody else. So when I go with the script of Karan Arjun to Shah Rukh and Salman, all the other actors, I narrate them the whole story with dialogues and then ask them, are you all convinced? So they say that we are convinced with the narration, but we are not convinced with the story.
Oh.
So Shah Rukh didn't believe in the story. He said, no, this is not unbelievable. But the way you have narrated, I have full faith in you.
हाँ. एंड आई थिंक वो चीज़ बहुत ज़रूरी होता है ना. आई थिंक एक एक्टर के मन में एक कन्विक्शन, एक जो डायरेक्टर का एक जो कन्विक्शन होता है एक स्टोरी के प्रति, आई थिंक वो बहुत ज़रूरी होता है बिकॉज आई हैव सीन इट एक्चुअली अ फ्यू टाइम्स सो वेयर For example, the intention is not really there. It's just there to make a film. I've seen examples of that with other filmmakers where they just make a film for the sake of it. And, you as audiences also then catch on to that vibe. I think that's what it is. It's that conviction, isn't it, sir?
Yes. I always feel that on the screen, the director should be seen.
Hmm.
Till you don't see the director's work, no film is going to touch you.
Yeah, very, very well said. Very well said. But I have to say I really admire and I deeply appreciate the fact that all of your films, even Koi Mil Gaya for that example, Koila as well, where there is a sense of spirituality uh seeped into the stories. एक दिव्यता है उन stories में, like even for example in कोई मिल गया, like Om, the reference of Om that you have when Rohit is crying and he's talking to Krishan ji, when Rakhi is going through pain and she's going to Kalima to get the strength. you know it's so beautiful for us growing up, because that also then, in a way, through the visual medium, through entertainment, it connected us to the divine also. So ये जो दिव्यता है आपकी फिल्मों में, वो I guess it must have played a very important part in your life as well growing up, right?
It's not that not my only for me. I think everybody inside them, whenever they are leaving the house or doing some good work, they always pray and go.
Hmm.
I've seen this. कोई ना कोई तरीके से वो प्रे करते हैं, कोई ना कोई तरीके से वो ऑलमाइटी से के सामने हाथ जोड़ते हैं।
जी
कोई भी काम करना चाहे आज के डेट में they will take blessings from somewhere, from their parents or from go to a mandir, or inner voice will say, "Hey God, please help me. My exams are there. Please make me." So there are many examples.
hmm.
So that is faith. That is belief.
Hmm. And I think for ज़रूरत से ज़्यादा आ गई है, to be honest. Like, especially with COVID and the sort of world we're living in, I think we definitely need that source of belief and that source of spirituality in it. But I'll tell you what I also really like about the films that you've made is that they beautifully blend. Like you said, you wanted your audience to be vast, from a small village in India to your audiences in LA. You wanted to cover that spectrum. And also, your films beautifully blend modernity with tradition, as we have seen in Karan Arjun, as we've seen in Koila, Koi Mil Gaya, Kaho Na Pyar Hai for that same matter. But how does the Rakesh Roshan of today view the current representation of contemporary storytelling that remains rooted in culture today? When you look back at your works, how do you view them?
So I feel that because I made different kind of films every time, so I kept on learning. I never made अगर मैंने खुदगर्ज दो हीरो की पिक्चर बनाई दो दोस्तों की तो
जी
नेक्स्ट पिक्चर भी मैंने वही बनाई
जी
so I kept myself educated. I made different kind of films and till today I see every film which releases on OTT or on in cinema to
hmm.
learn. I see a bad film also, I see a good film also. So I learn from them.
Hmm.
I have not stopped learning. I keep learning things. So that way I've got myself absolutely updated.
Hmm. And I think that's a very good point, because I think even Rakesh Sippy sir, or Ramesh Sippy sir, when I interviewed him, he said the same thing about, having to move on with the times and how important it really is, especially when you are a filmmaker. So, and also, your voice, your films, your protagonists have always voiced an underdog. There's always been an underdog who is very innocent, but then because of very evil forces or evil society, factors of society basically coming over and suppressing them, they basically come back and try to fight their own battles. um I think in today's day and age, because कोविड के बाद और इस जनरेशन में बहुत चीज़ें बदल चुकी है, टेक्नोलॉजी का बहुत ज़्यादा इन्फ्लक्स आ चुका है हमारे जनरेशन में. Just hypothetically, if you were to make a film, a character in today's day and age that's an underdog, what do you think the challenges they would face actually?
You see, but every film is on the base of that. for under. If you see Khulbari, a simple lady
Yeah.
who comes, takes back revenge. In Krishan Kanaya, there are two brothers, twins. One is a weak guy, the other one comes back. Then if you see Karan Arjun, then you see Koila, a mute character, how he takes revenge.
Hmm.
Ahuna Pyar Hai, how a simple boy is murdered, and how another person who looks like him comes and takes his revenge. So basically, koi mil gaya, how underdeveloped child becomes a hero in the end. So it is always from a zero to a hero. That's my uh, because there is more identification for the audience. Because everybody wants to become big, so
Hmm.
they identify with the character very easily.
Hmm. Hmm. And I think also back in the 80s and the 90s, the struggles were very different, right? Even in the 2000s, struggles काफी अलग थे समाज में. And I think जो भावनाएं आपकी फिल्म में दर्शाती है, for example, vigilante justice, revenge, and the way you present them in such a commercial and relatable way. I think that was also very, very, very beautiful to watch. I think even for me growing up. So tell me, sir, what inspired you to explore such themes? Like what you've just mentioned here as well. Um, and to what extent are the themes that you've chosen maybe reflective of your life experiences, your understanding of society and the world we live in as well?
Maybe I also, when I began my career as an actor, I didn't get that success, and somewhere it took me a long time to uh, get what I wanted
Hmm.
with Khudgarz. Maybe that is somewhere in the back of my mind, see how from from not from a zero, I'd say, but from minus to becoming a plus, from minus to becoming a plus. So that maybe it's in my subconscious mind. I don't.
Hmm. Which is very interesting because I've seen some of your works as an actor also, and I really loved. I mean, I think Khel Khel Mein I saw, and I think even Khoobsurat, and I really loved you as an actor as well. So what sort of filmmakers really inspired you actually to sort of step into the style of filmmaking that you did eventually?
What happened was that as you said, that my work is to get appreciated, but I never used to move forward.
Yeah.
Still at the same place where I was standing. Other actors and other colleagues used to move forward, but I used to remain there only.
Mm,
So I became a producer. I started making films as a producer. But then when we should sit for story sittings and discussions, I used to imagine this scene would be shot this way, or this sequence should be shot this way. But that other mind, who was the director, he should shoot it in some other way,
mm.
according to his imagination. So I thought my imagination is better than his imagination. So I took up for direction and I made footnotes.
Nice.
Presented with my visuals, what came in my mind.
Mm. And I think also, like you mentioned as well, like you've never really stuck to genres per se, right? And I think Karan Arjun was obviously a big game changer for you in that sense, because then obviously after Karan Arjun, the scale became bigger and bigger. I think with every sort of film that you made. Um, so I think for you as well as a filmmaker, at each step, having to step up. And also it's not as if you've had I mean, you've also seen I mean, there's also been films which haven't worked out. Like for example, I remember watching Karobar, which released, I think, the same year as Kaho Na Pyar Hai did. So you've kind of seen a good sort of a good scale of success as well as failure as well as struggle. But जब आप ये सब चीजें कैटेगराइज करते हो अपने दिमाग में, जब आप ये रिफ्लेक्ट करते हो इन चीजों के ऊपर, कौन कौन सी भावनाएं आपके मन में चलती हैं? And how do you feel when you kind of realize the sort of growth that you've had as a human being as well,
See, I don't plan anything कि मुझे इस तरह की कहानी बनानी है. वो अंदर से एक आवाज आती है पता नहीं कौन भेजता है, कहाँ से आती है कि मुझे इस टाइप की कहानी बनानी चाहिए, फिर उस पर काम करना शुरू करता हूँ. सो इट्स वेरी ऑर्गेनिक. आई डोंट प्लान. इवन इन माई स्क्रीन प्ले, व्हेन आई एम मेकिंग माई स्क्रीन प्ले, यू वोंट बिलीव, कोई मिल गया स्क्रीन प्ले फिनिश इन वन वीक,
वाओ.
वेयर क्रिश took me 1.5 years.
वाओ.
सो इट ऑल डिपेंड्स, कि आप कोई कहानी ऐसी होती है कि आपने इतनी नई कहानी ली है कि आपके थॉट्स में सब नई नई चीजें आती रहती हैं.
हम्म. जी.
आने की सिचुएशंस, डायलॉग्स, सीन्स, ये सब ऑर्गेनिकली आती रहती.
हम्म. हम्म. And I think also, there's something very special when I saw the Karan Arjun trailer because hearing Hrithik's voice and him telling the story, I mean, he's a superstar in his own right, and the fact that he's also doing a voiceover which has such three big superstars, including Kajol as well. It was very, very special, and I think it's very even more better as well because he's celebrating his silver jubilee as well. So, how do you kind of view Dugu's evolution as a father and also as a filmmaker? Because I think it's been immense.
I think he's a very talented boy and a very hardworking boy. And because he was an assistant to me for 5 years, he has seen, he has learned a lot of things uh, subconsciously. Nobody has taught him anything, but he knows about the story, he knows about screenplay, he knows about direction. He is my best friend as a to bounce any stories or bounce any ideas with him.
Hmm.
Because he advises me correct, I advise him correctly. Because we are father and son, and we are open to each other, every conversation.
Hmm. And it's beautiful as well. Like, I mean, it just really makes me think कि अगर if Dugu was supposed to do a Karan Arjun in today's day and age, it just fascinates me to see how his approach would be. Because I remember when Kaho Na Pyar Hai released, and I remember my dad got the cassette of that home. And मुझे बहुत शौक था उससे cassettes like assemble करने में. And my dad was like, "Oh no, he's a new star being launched." I remember those were the words that he said, and lo and behold, he literally became a superstar overnight. I used to have posters of like Hrithik on my wall. That's literally the legacy that he's held. So kahin na kahin, sir, because you said as well, ke, as an actor, things did not go the way you expected. But with the fame that Hrithik felt, did it feel like a sense of divine justice? Because you saw him achieve the milestones that you never got in your life.
I thought it was my achievement.
Oh.
I achieved.
That is very sweet. No, it's really wonderful. Seriously, I think he's definitely grown tremendously as an actor, and I'm really excited. I mean, Kawan Apare celebrates his silver jubilee, but we will talk about that in the future for sure. But look, sir, I think एक बात अच्छी अच्छी भी है because मैंने देखा है कि जो re-releases है पुराने फिल्मों की, I feel like वो ना cinemas को बहुत financially support भी कर रहे हैं, and I think लोगों को भी जो आम जनता है उनको भी एक job भी दे रही है. But to what extent do you think nostalgia will be a viable draw at the box office? ये कब तक चलेगा ये जो re-releases का दौर है सिनेमा में?
नहीं, ये तो जितना चलाना आप चला सकते हैं. पुरानी पिक्चरें, मैंने क्या किया कि करण अर्जुन को मैं वॉज इन मोनो एट दैट टाइम व्हेन इट रिलीज 30 years back. I have made it into a Dolby. And then I did the DI of the film and made it look fresh. It's it's a new film when you go to see.
Hmm.
You won't see anything old in it,
Hmm.
even the song wise and look wise. So if you present your films in a good way, and if the audience likes these kind of films with emotions
Hmm.
and are detailed,
Hmm.
there is a good chance for many films to re-release.
Hmm.
Good chance for us filmmakers to know, to judge. Even if the audience laps this film 5% of what it did 30 years back, it gives us confidence, these emotions are still alive with this generation. So
Hmm.
we can make this kind of films. So
Hmm.
it's a testing, guys. It's a way, it's a test to know what the audience wants. If they like this film, that means the audience still wants films of this kind. And if they don't, then we have to change our mindset. No, we have to change. We have to give them what they want.
Hmm.
Recently, Ghadar did very well,
Yeah.
which is at the time when Kauna Pyara released, he did very well. The Ghadar Part 1, I'm saying,
Hmm.
when re-released, he did very well. So that means there is some emotional connect with the audience.
Hmm. I think also, COVID has played a really big role in this, sir, because I feel like uh उस पैंडेमिक के बाद आई थिंक कहीं ना कहीं वो जो इमोशंस थे ना जब when life was still a bit better than what it is now. I think people are still connecting to the past a lot. Like I said, nostalgia. I feel like people are hanging on to nostalgia as well. Do you ever feel that as well, like with the audiences and the sort of reactions that come your way, with the nostalgic elements? Do you feel like
Yeah,
there
of course,
is?
if you see Indian Idol and if you see all these children singing all old songs, they're so young and they must have not even their fathers must have not heard the songs earlier. They were so old, but they're singing.
Hmm. Yeah, it's the
And,
legacy that it holds.
and secondly, today in today's cinema, we don't have the recall value because we don't have songs.
Hmm.
हम एक गाना सुनते हैं तो हमें पता लगता है ये शनि कपूर ने गाया था, ये शशि कपूर ने गाया था, ये देवानंद ने गाया था, ये इसने गाया था, ये एक्टर ने गाया था। हमें एक्टर के नाम याद आते हैं गानों से। पर
Yeah.
आजकल आप पिक्चर में गाने ही नहीं होते, बैकग्राउंड में गाने बजते हैं एक या दो, तो
Hmm.
रिकॉल क्यों नहीं?
बट वो चीज क्यों है आपको लगता है कि रिकॉल वैल्यू नहीं है? व्हाट डू यू थिंक हैज कंट्रीब्यूटेड टुवर्ड्स दैट लैक ऑफ पैशन? if
I think because of this COVID and people seeing a lot of OTT films on this platform, uh, people eventually thought the songs are not required in the film. We should make films without songs. And because they need money from the music companies, they put one or two songs in the end of the titles or in the background one song. So this is all mechanical. It's not organic.
हम्म हम्म और सर, क्या आपको लगता है कि जो फिल्म इंडस्ट्री है हमारी, लाइक आई फील एक दौर से गुजर रही है, लाइक इट्स गोइंग थ्रू अ वेरी बिग ट्रांजिशन पीरियड, because obviously last year it felt like okay चलो सिनेमा वापस आ रहा है because बहुत सारी फिल्मों ने अच्छा बॉक्स ऑफिस कमाया है. But I feel like अब जो हो रहा है, it's like you mentioned as well, with the re-releases, it's giving a sense of hope and reassurance and all of that. So do you think that there's a sense of trying to figure out what is going to happen,
इसी फॉर एग्जाम्पल लाइक जैसे आपने अभी कहा है कि लास्ट ईयर जवान भी चली और पठान भी चली और उसके पहले बाहुबली चली
जी.
और काफी पिक्चरें चली, देर ऑल होलसम फिल्म्स।
Hmm.
वॉर चली, ए होलसम फिल्म, उसमें गाने भी हैं, उसमें अच्छे लोकेशंस भी हैं, एक्शन भी है, इमोशंस भी हैं, कहानी भी अच्छी है। सो दोज फिल्म्स आर वेरी रेयरली एंड इट्स वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू मेक सच फिल्म्स।
Hmm.
ऐसा लगता है ऑन द फेस ऑफ इट यार ये तो मसाला फिल्म है और ये एक फॉर्मूला फिल्म है, बट टू मेक अ फॉर्मूला फिल्म इट इज वेरी 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 डिफिकल्ट।
Hmm. जी,
ये
बिल्कुल.
सबकी बस की बात नहीं है।
Hmm. जी. And I think a final word from you, sir. Karan Arjun is re-releasing 30 years later. We're gonna all hear the beautiful songs Jati Hu Main, uh, uh, Gup Chup Gup Chup, all these Bhangra Pale, all these beautiful songs once again on the big screen. What would you like to say to the audiences, like for example, who might have not been able to watch the film on the big screen when the film had released? What would you like to say to the younger generation, especially, about the film?
So the younger generation is going to teach me. I'm not going to tell them. They should see the film and let me know.
Amazing.
Have they liked the film alone?
Amazing, amazing. Well, thank you so much, Rakesh sir. It's been such an honor and a pleasure to have you on Filmy Shilmy. Really, it's been so wonderful. I feel like मेरा जो बचपन का एक ख्वाब था, I think वो थोड़ा सा अब मेरे को लगता है वो the younger me would be very happy today, just knowing the fact that I've spoken to you and expressed the love that I have for your cinema. And Karan Arjun really is such a huge sentiment, I think, for all of us, and I cannot wait to witness it again on the big screen.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Do
thank
see and call me. Let me know.
I will, sir, for sure, definitely. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.